So she took him to Providence East, and she describes, dropping him off as just sort of being the way that like I dropped off my parents at the hospital. It's like I had confidence that they were going to get better, and my aunt had full confidence that he was going to get better. And in fact, we all did. That's been something that I've been really grappling a lot with, is how confident I was that he was going to be okay. His lungs were so strong. He played the trumpet for his entire life. I mean, from sixth grade until 60. Yeah, he was admitted to the hospital, and I was absolutely confident because of how strong his lungs were. I mean, I would have bet all of my fur children. That's how confident I was. And when he did check in, I was still texting him and saying, how are you feeling? How are you doing? And he was saying, okay, I'm all right. Just got to work on breathing. And something about my uncle too. Every single text, and I've gone back. I've had this phone for far too long. I'm ashamed to admit how long I've had it. But I've gone back a couple years, and at the end of every single text that he would send, he would put 3 emojis. He would put the happy face with the sunglasses, trumpet, and music notes. And it doesn't matter what the content was. If it was, what should I bring to grandma's, or what time is your gig at? Any response, he would always put those 3 emojis. And for those first few texts, when he was admitted to the hospital, he was still putting those emojis. And then really only about a week and a half after he was admitted, he started declining even more quickly. And we were told that he was going to need to be placed on the ventilator. He was going to have to be unconscious and placed on the ventilator, which was a huge shock. I don't think any of us really expected him to need that again, because of how strong his lungs were, and the fact that he had no underlying health issues at all. None. No diabetes. No, he was fit. No obesity. No heart disease. Nothing. He was healthy. He was absolutely healthy. So for him to have just declined so quickly, it was just such a shock. But we were all still hopeful, and I was reading sort of obsessively over cases where people who were placed on the ventilator, that did have a recovery, and I knew it wasn't. The odds weren't that great, but it happened. And so I thought, surely, right, if there's anyone that can beat this and get off of that damn ventilator, it will absolutely be my Uncle Freddie. And then the week before February 12th, which was a Friday, about the Monday and Tuesday, was when my cousin Kat, his daughter, and my aunt Elvira, his wife, let all of the family know that things were really not looking good, and that we needed to be very realistic about the direness of the situation, and to just be prepared that he might not make it. I don't even have the proper words to express my confusion and anger at that even being a possibility, because the entire time I had just been convinced that he was going to be all right. Then Friday, February 12th, rolled around, and his wife, my aunt and my cousin made the calls to all of us, to all of the family, and said, the doctors have given us a 0% chance of recovery. His lungs have turned essentially into cardboard. He will never be able to breathe again. The machines at this point are really just keeping his body alive. He's gone. Like there's nothing. So yeah, that day, they went ahead and removed all of the machines that were providing life support. and he passed at 1:23 that afternoon, which is interesting considering, the 1, 2, 3 of music. I think it's just a fitting time, if you will. And something else that I didn't mention that I wanted to come back to was right before he was placed on the ventilator, and I was texting him and telling him, to stay strong and how much I loved him and I couldn't wait to hear him play again. He was responding, but this time there were no emojis at the end. And that's when I really knew that that he wasn't himself, that he wasn't okay. So yeah, he passed away that Friday afternoon. That same day, I got a very unexpected opportunity to get the first vaccine. I had been registered with the city and with UTEP, but I knew that because of my age and my health, I'm in my, I guess, prime, I wouldn't have been able to get the vaccine for another few months. And so having just my world essentially fallen completely on me, at this point, I couldn't even pick myself up off the floor, but knowing that I needed to take this opportunity to get a vaccine. And so I did go. It was like just worse than like a Twilight Zone episode, just being there, getting this vaccine for this virus that had just taken my beloved uncle. And really just all the emotions from knowing how vocal I've been about people wearing a mask, all of the shit I went through with the COVIDiots, a year ago, getting attacked on social media, getting death threats for simply telling people to wear masks and not to reopen businesses. It just, it was just too much, really. It's been a lot to deal with. The grief, I wouldn't wish this on anyone, really. There have been some days where I just feel like I can't do anything. I've just been incapable to focus on work or even shower is kind of a challenge, but I'm doing a lot better. I'm showered, okay, if you're wondering. I'm catching up with work, finally. Luckily, my students have been very understanding. I've got an amazing support network of friends and obviously my family who's going through it as well. And I'm grief therapy, which has been a really big help. So it's really just, one day at a time, and trying to find some sense of normalcy again. But I know that my life will never, ever, ever be the same. So that's been my past few months in a nutshell.
Well, thank you for sharing this experience with us. I'm hoping that other people will derive some sense of comfort. Other people who have experienced similar tragedies will sort of be comforted by your experience. And, we wish you the best, and we're always here for you. You know that, Ruby, right?
I do.
I'd like to dedicate this, our 20th episode, to the memory of your uncle and cousin, for what it's worth. They sound like very special people. We're going to take a quick break at this point, and we'll be back in just a moment. You are listening to Vanguard Elements. Welcome back. You are listening to Vanguard Elements. Well, Ruby, it's been exactly 1 year and exactly 10 episodes ago, if you can believe it, since you had that infamous brush with what we affectionately call COVIDiots. I'd just like to quickly revisit that incident, or I guess series of incidents that you were involved in about a year ago. I think it was April 24th, 2020. When your interview on KTSM aired and you voiced some very legitimate concerns about the Reopen El Paso rally, which was, if you think about it, it's really just a Trump rally calling on Texas businesses to reopen in spite of a rapidly evolving, rapidly escalating pandemic. Well, following your interview, Patricia Maese, and I think I've said it before, some people call her a reporter. I choose to call her something else, but oh well. Anyways, she decided to post some very disparaging comments about you and about teachers in general on Facebook. So in her post, first of all, she accused you of being a Bernie Sanders supporter. Guilty as charged on that count, right?
Yes.
Right. So, okay. Me too. Guilty as charged. You know, secondly, she accused you of being a government teacher, which I still don't see the logic behind that comment. What her larger implication was. Was it intended as an insult? Maybe it's a QAnon thing. I don't know. Anyways, thirdly, she basically claimed that as a teacher, you've never worked a day in your life, with the clear and unavoidable implication being, what we get from her comments is that teachers apparently don't really work for a living. I don't know. Anyways, and finally, she basically made the assertion that you are a threat to life. Please feel free to volunteer any relevant information. Am I leaving anything out? I mean, I know there's more to the story, but are we good so far? Is that kind of how it played out initially?
I believe you covered all the insults that she slung at me,
all
slew at
the
me online.
hard, indiscernible insults, inscrutable insults. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Following her comments, I guess KTSM, and I do appreciate this from KTSM, they rightfully issued an apology explaining that the views expressed by my essay did not represent the station or the station's parent company, Nexstar Media Group. So then I guess in light of Maesa's disparaging remarks about teachers, KTSM news director Victor Venegas, who I appreciate very much, also felt compelled to mention that KTSM has, quote, tremendous respect and admiration for all of our educators who are working tirelessly to share their knowledge and expertise on all levels. I'm not sure what happened next. A year later, it's still unclear. Did Maese resign? Was she terminated? Did Fox News or One American News pick her up as a correspondent? Has she been appointed to the, I think as Haza suggested, did she become president of UTEP or something? I mean, it seems they find a job, right, Haza? But anyways. So anyway, yeah. I mean, what has become of her? Anybody know?
I personally have no idea.
Did she resign? Does anyone?
Hey, I mean, isn't that kind of like the best fate for bad guys on the scene?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden we just don't hear about them for a long, long time.
Somebody Google her. What the fuck is she doing?
But it's a mystery. I have no idea. But I think, like Haza said, I think that's actually the better option.
Yeah.
No, but I did get word afterwards from some pretty reliable sources that she was given the option of either apologizing to me publicly or resigning, and she chose the latter, which is just speaks volumes of her character. Yeah. So it's wild to think that was a year ago, but I think there's also this profound tragic irony, really, in the reason why I even went on KTSM in the very first place. They didn't air it, but the reporter at the time did ask me, why did you reach out to us, or why do you care so much about this? And I remember clear as day, I gave an explanation for about a minute, explaining exactly why. And it was because I did not want to lose any of my family or friends or loved ones to this virus. And I especially did not want to lose them because of people's stupidity and willful ignorance. I remember saying those words so clearly. And so, again, just in reflecting upon the two losses that I did experience, and not just mine, but the fact, over 500,000 Americans have lost their lives at this point. We may be even closer to 600,000. I'm not sure, but I do know it's over 500,000. There is this tragic irony in the fact that everything